Welcome to the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie, powered in part by Classic of Denton.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us on the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie. And we are here in the studio at DentonRadio.com. Thank you so much for being here. And today we have Nicole Leftow. We are going to be talking about filmmaking, which is in the air, obviously, right now with the thin line going on. So, Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I'm so glad that you finally got to sit down with me. You're such a busy girl, so thank you for being here.
Well, yeah, our schedules are both so busy all the time.
It's been like a year.
Yeah.
It really has. So tell us all about yourself. Tell us who you are and in the beginning.
Okay, so my name is Nicole Leftow, like you said. I've been making films since I was about 16. I've directed 6 films. I have no idea how many I've edited at this point,
Wow.
but I directed 4 of those projects and learned from and worked on countless films at the University of North Texas, where I'm a junior.
Nice, very nice. So let's take it back, all the way back. So how did you get interested in film? What was the spark? Seriously.
Well, if we're going way back, I actually originally wanted to be a hip hop dancer.
Okay.
And I did 6 years of that somehow without ever seeing a video of myself. And then I saw a video of myself and I was like, oh my God, I can't dance. And my parents were like, oh yeah, we thought that you knew this entire time. And I was like, what? And so I dropped out of dance and they were like, you have to fill your elective. And somebody had told me that film was easy, which is the biggest lie of my life. So I took it. My high school actually had an amazing film program, considering we're in Texas. I had a teacher named Tanya Romero, who is this amazing woman from Nicaragua, who completely built our program up. And I after the first day, started editing during lunch, and I just couldn't ever get myself out of that room.
That is amazing. And I know that's so weird you say that, because a lot of people don't have the exposure to filmmaking when they're in high school.
Yeah.
I actually did. I took a filmmaking class. It was only like a 6 weeks course because I was in the art cluster, and by that I went to Skyline. So I went for photography. So they did make me take graphic arts, filmmaking. They made me take, different little varieties of art stuff. So I got a taste of that, and it was really neat because of all the stuff that you think, oh, this is going to be easy. It's just going to be holding a camera, and it's really not about that at all.
Oh my God, yeah, no. It's like trying to be a one-man band, especially in those like smaller sets. But yeah, it was a really unique experience that I'm very glad I got to experience, because I got all that kind of amateur stuff out in high school, and the really dumb, like, let's do a slasher film.
Yeah.
And then when I got the opportunity to move to Denton and work with the young filmmakers here, I was like, I had kind of figured out what I wanted to do as an artist already, which is a blessing. And so I started to make films that were more passion project, personal driven stuff. So
when you say the film people that you work with here, now obviously we're a big town of collective artists and whatnot, so you'll find all kinds of people. Now when I first got here, admittedly, I didn't think there was going to be as big of a
I had no
film
idea.
niche here in Denton, and you quickly find out that's not the case.
Right.
And the UNT film what do you call it, the film makers, they're amazing, and you're one of them, and that's why I wanted to have you on here. I was just telling you earlier about your trailers. I'm like, I'm impressed just by watching your trailers, and so to be able to pull that kind of talent out of the university, because relatively it's a young crowd, and the quality of work that is coming out of there is so impressive. So I know that you're rubbing elbows with some super amazing, talented people.
Oh, absolutely.
And day and age now, admittedly, the technology is so much more fun to create stuff like a film. So what is it like going into school for film?
Crazy. I mean, honestly, I was worried about, finding people who I could collaborate with, and, because some people are hard to work with, but it's a collaborative art, so you have to work with all kinds of personalities. But what I've found at North Texas is that I can't make enough film sets. Like there's so many people that like are about to graduate, and I'm like, what do you mean you're about to graduate? We just started working together.
Yes.
And you know, there's only so many spots in a film crew, and it's awful because there's so much talent at UNT with Short Film Club and NTTV. It's insane.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's super awesome.
So how do you choose being in school? I mean, literally, are you assigned stuff? And I'm asking because I have no idea. So are you literally assigned your topic, or are you given free reign to the point where you're like, go create a film?
Well, for the past 2 years, or I guess 3 now, I'm a junior. I've been taking film theory classes, which definitely influenced my style of filmmaking, but the production is more or less like, you know, the basics. And since me and all of my super nerdy friends already knew all the basics, we went out on our own time with Short Film Club and with our own money and equipment and made all these films on our own. And now I'm very excited because they're introducing these upper level classes where you can do both. Yeah. So I'm taking a directing course next year, and like that whole course is you direct a film. That's amazing. Which is awesome.
That is really amazing. That's so cool that all of these things are being offered, and that should tell you how long I've been in school or out of school. But yeah, that's pretty fun to come in and you. I mean, I'm sure you have your days, but it's like, you're getting to do what you love. It's your passion.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And then when you put your personal feelings, emotions, experiences behind a project, something as filmmaking, it becomes you're breathing life into something basically artistic. So it's just a cool process from start to finish. So what kind of projects have you done with, let's say beforehand, when you were in high school? What were you really proud of when you were in high school?
Okay, so my gem of high school was a short film called Eliza. It was the first serious film we had ever even attempted to do. And when I look back on it, I see a lot of mistakes, but I still love it. It's about a little girl who goes out and she's lizard hunting and she can't find one. So she comes home and makes a lizard out of clay, and she runs into the other room to show her dad, and you realize that her dad has actually killed himself. And it's about her like being stuck in kind of this cycle of avoiding that and coming back and not really processing it. And it was inspired by the passing away of a loved one. At 16, I was like horrified and in shock and in complete denial that this person had died in my life, and I didn't know how to express that in any form other than film. And so that was my first
that's a deep topic to hit
directorial thing.
For a directorial thing.
Yeah.
It is very hard to tackle a topic like that, especially at such a young age. That topic in and of itself, it to me, in my experience, it is a life-altering experience.
Absolutely.
You change as a person. And it's really weird because in films, you see it on film all the time, and if it's never really hit close to home to the point where you're missing a part of you, you can, obviously watch and you may cry or whatnot, but it's not until you have gone through that you feel the true depth of emotion in filmmaking. And I remember losing someone very close to me. It was my nephew, and watching a film with my family the first time after that had happened. And it was almost like, oh my gosh, I understand.
Right. And
the light bulb went off in such a sad situation, but filmmaking had a big influence. I remember specifically being in that movie theater, crying my eyes out and thinking, this is what true sadness is.
Well, I mean, and that's what it's all for. Not that we want people to cry their eyes out, but just to know that they're not alone, and to kind of capture that insanely human feeling. And yeah, it happened with that project. It's happened with every project I've ever done, where someone has come up to me afterwards and said like, hey, here's my story, and here's how your story made me, feel connected to that. And it's so humbling. With that project specifically, it premiered at the Paramount Theater in Austin. And I had one lady who walked out during the film, and I was really upset at first. I was like, oh no, I guess my film's just terrible. But she emailed me like weeks later and was like, I just wanted to let you know that I walked out of your film because my son died 2 years ago. And immediately when I saw your film, that's what I thought of. And like it captured that like gut wrenching feeling, and it was just too much for me. And I was like, first of all, I'm so sorry.
Yes.
And second of all, like, thank you so much for letting me know. And I'm glad that it was able to,
and you're
reach
like, and
that.
I remembered you.
Yeah. I remembered you. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really neat to see how films, how we relate, because obviously the writing, which you obviously write as well, because
yes.
I'm going to go ahead and mention that this is one of my lost poets.
Yes.
And I'm very proud to have her as a lost poet. But you're a poet, and you do write, and obviously and when you say directing, it goes beyond that, because you're also writing for your scripts.
Yeah, I'm a triple threat. I write the screenplays, I direct, and I try to edit, if not my own projects and other people's projects. Because I think people ignore video editing a lot, but it is
very time consuming.
Super time consuming and tedious, but it is so important and can completely change the whole meaning of your film.
Yes.
And I love, that OCD-ness. I love that control over the end product and seeing it to the last frame. So, yeah.
And it is literally a frame by frame
process
job. My boyfriend obviously is into film, and he did a lot of film editing, and I remember hearing it just one piece, one clip, and you'd hear it over and over and over and over.
It drives my roommate crazy.
Yeah, to the point where you're memorizing whatever they're working on, because it's that tedious. But at the same time, you're talking about those nuances that could make or break your scene.
Absolutely, yeah.
And so I remember all of that. It is a very delicate process, and not only just your scenery, but also the music that gets involved. Do you pick out the music?
No, I actually work with local composers and musicians, because Denton is a film city, but it's also a huge music city, as you probably know. And yeah, I've had students from the music program. I've had students in the film program. My last project was composed by Noah Spencer, name drop. And he is phenomenal. He just went on tour with his band, but his composition work is incredible. And like, everyone tells me that the music made that film, or is one of the elements that made that film.
A lot of people underestimate music when it comes to film, and to me, that's one of the most important things, aside from the writing and the visual, obviously. It's so funny, because last night I was getting grilled on what musical score is this from what movie.
Oh, yeah.
And it was so funny, because a few of them I was like, I already know. I'm going to get all of these. And it was weird, because I was like, okay, this one, somebody is looking at the stars. And
yeah, you can feel it.
I couldn't remember the movie itself, but I was like, somebody's looking at the stars. They're looking and wondering, and I would get the movie scene right, but I couldn't recall the name. And it was just weird how every movie film or movie screening or soundtrack would put me right back into that movie.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
it's incredible.
So it's really neat. So let's talk about the films that you do have, because we do have some trailers, and I'm going to want to show those in a minute.
Okay, great.
So we're going to show the first two trailers in a minute, but let's talk about those first two trailers.
Okay. I'm not really sure what order you have, but
the order I have is the ones you gave it to me in the Google file.
Lord. Okay. I think it might have been alphabetical. So I'm trying to
it's okay. Just talk about your four in general, and they're going to come out eventually. So.
Okay, cool. So the first project I did in Denton is called Gray Matter, and it is a film about mental health and young love. I wanted to make a film that told people with mental health disorders that they are capable of loving and that they are deserving of loving. I was diagnosed with a panic disorder when I was around 12, and I have always thought for some reason that because of that, it's just impossible for me to be in a relationship. It seems like such a craziness to live with as an individual. I couldn't imagine throwing that on someone else. And since then, I mean, I don't know about plenty, but I've had many one healthy relationships with both friends and romantic partners, and everybody has something going on in their lives. And yeah, of course, if you're going to date someone who has a panic disorder versus someone who doesn't, it's probably going to be easier for the person who doesn't. But I found that the people that I've dated they're your anxiety is the last thing that I, worry about. Like there's so many other things to you, beyond your condition. And sometimes your condition makes you even more empathetic, to other people and makes your relationship stronger. So I wanted to tell a story about that. So that's that one.
Okay. So that another heavy topic, because a lot of people, and I really feel that so many people put themselves in a prison, and I know this is more on the mental side of the the movies and the topics and stuff, but you put yourself in that prison and you don't realize that you're always holding the key, and you just have to sit there and talk about it. So film, writing, all of that is an expressive way to get that out in the open, face those demons, and just let other people know that you're not alone, and I'm like you. And just because I am this way doesn't mean that it defines your life in a certain way. So
absolutely.
So what's the next topic?
Okay, so the next film that I made was called Sunborough, and it is a love story between two girls, and it is. People compare the two a lot because it's also a love film, but it's more about the idea of wanting love without all of the difficulties that come with love. So wanting that like film romance, like, everything's perfect, and never wanting to let go of that honeymoon phase. Because I have that anxiety, I'm like, I never, ever, ever want to get in an argument. I don't want, we should just never get in an argument, which is just not realistic. And so it's about kind of learning to accept that, every relationship you have is going to have downs, and that's what makes it so worthwhile, is that they'll stay with you throughout those downs. So yeah, that's that one.
Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about the other two, and then we'll play two of them. We'll talk about a few more things, and then we'll play the other two in the very end.
Fantastic.
Okay, so what was the third one?
The third one is called Lioness, and it is about it's an experimental film. It's very abstract, and it's about a girl who is recovering from her sexual assault, and it kind of goes through more of the psychological experience of pain and self-hate and finding that kind of inner peace and
Okay. And then the last topic?
And then the last topic is the Survivors Project, which is about sexual assault as well, but it's a documentary, and it's talking to 3 survivors that are insanely amazing young women that I was so lucky to work with. And they talk about what being a sexual assault survivor looks like afterwards, because I find all of these documentaries about like, and then he took me into the other room, and it's and it's horrific, but I mean, I'm sure it's cathartic for them. But I always wondered, as a survivor of sexual assault myself, what do you do afterwards? Like, once you take a shower, once you talk to the cops, if that's what you're going to do, once you go to therapy, I mean, what does it look like living your life out as somebody who has this following you? I mean, because you never really truly move on from that.
No, it's always going to be a lifelong recovery from something like that.
Exactly.
And it goes with you, and you learn and you grow in spite of the pain, and you become stronger from it for some people, and unfortunately not everyone gets that experience. So it is important to talk about these things, especially in our environment, especially at a double university campus city, where we have so many youth, and those things are very real.
Yeah, absolutely.
And like I said before, when things like that happen, people shut down, and that's the least thing you need to be doing.
And I think also I've talked to a lot of survivors because of both these projects, and one, just like knowing that I'm not alone has been really cathartic, and them knowing that they're not alone is really important. But I mean, I've met people who, like, to this day aren't sure, like, if they can even call themselves that. And like, I think that just getting visibility, like the Me Too movement is so important. And I think it's done so much for people to just sit down and recognize and validate themselves. Like, yeah, this thing happened to me, and like, I'm going to work on that and, like, try to grow from it.
It is a process.
Yeah, absolutely. But, I think it's been something that people have been suppressing, whether as an individual or as a society, for a long time.
I agree on both accounts.
And it is a long time coming. So I'm excited to, kind of be there for these breakthrough moments and these cathartic moments for these people.
I think it's really important to talk about, obviously, because of the fact that so many people are living in their own personal suffering because they don't know how to deal with it, whether it be because their family doesn't know how to deal with it, their friends don't know how to deal with it, society doesn't know how to deal with it. You know, questions come up. How do I treat a person that has been through that experience?
Absolutely.
And, you know, and then obviously the person going through that feels the difference in the treatment too. So there's just so many aspects that need to be addressed with stuff like that. And I'm so glad that you're doing films like that to help in your own personal growth and with other people. So that's wonderful. So what is the quirkiest film you've ever done?
Oh my goodness. Gray Matter was probably the quirkiest film that we've done so far. We had like Polaroid photos all over the production design by Kirsten Norsworthy was incredible. And we had string lights everywhere. Also, just the production itself was so lighthearted and adorable. We had a scheduled nap in our film production. So we had like a snack break, we had a dinner break, and then we had a nap break.
That's hilarious.
There's BTS photos of us just like piled on top of each other, and there's pillows everywhere.
Yes. Behind the scenes, guys.
But yeah, so that was great. That was probably the most fun that I've ever had on a set. Surprisingly though, Lioness, which is probably the most like harsh one to watch, was probably the most calm I've ever been on set. And everybody else, I think because they knew it was so serious, just kind of went in and did our job, and there was literally no mistakes made on that film set, which is unheard of. And everyone was like so supportive and understanding and efficient, and I just could not have asked for a better crew.
That's amazing. And it is wonderful to work with people that understand your passion and why, and that seamlessly just go with it, you know, because it's not like that. You're right. It doesn't happen like that. So you got a gem right there as far as your crew. So where do you see yourself in 5 years from now?
Oh, goodness. Well, the film industry and all arts are, you know, known for throwing you around. So I'm ready for whatever it does to me. But the dream right now in 5 years is to be in Seattle. I'm really interested in the like independent production companies there. And as much as I love directing with these people and collaborating with these artists, I'm mostly interested in video editing. So that's like kind of my specialty.
No, very nice. Okay, so you want to find your niche in Seattle. You're leaving us?
I'm
glad you told me now so that I could prepare, because it would take me that long.
Well, I've already been told that no matter how hard I try to get out of Texas, I'm not going to get Texas out of me. So,
that's very true.
Yeah, I'm excited to be that Texas character wherever I go.
Maybe you can do a film about that.
Oh, I'm absolutely.
Let's go ahead and play the first two trailers, and then we'll get back to talking about films.
Awesome.
I met a girl. I met a girl.
Hey! What if one of her panic attacks lines up with one of your episodes?
Well, can you hear me?
Have you thought about the risks? Really?
Are you okay? Not as much as I thought about the payoff.
Gray Matter and Lioness.
Mm-hmm.
Now, can you find those anywhere to watch full length?
Yeah, both are posted online. Both are on my Vimeo page, but Lioness actually has its own website where we've included just details about the project, some of the inspiration, about the production and how it's completely student-led and student-funded. And then we also have a link on there for you to donate to RAIN, which is the best nonprofit organization that we could find on a national level that helps support and, aid sexual assault survivors.
Okay, so Lioness has become a campaign basically for you.
Yeah. I mean, I think on its own, it's very much like an art installment. I view it much more as an art installment than I do a film, because it's really experimental and abstract and I sorry.
It's okay.
I think that it's something that can stand on its own, but it's also something that fits so perfectly into this bigger picture. And so I think that it was the perfect opportunity to combine what I do on a creative level with a bigger cause that I could do on almost a political level.
Very nice. So, well, it is a topic that is, bigger than just film, obviously, because it affects a lot of people. But so what kind of future projects do you have as far as film? Like, what is not on the books already being done that you're like, I have to do a film about this?
Oh my God, that's so hard.
You're like 101 ideas.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I have one that's in the earliest possible stages of filmmaking, called The Devil Has Blue Eyes, and it's about abusive relationships. We talked about sexual assault and survivors and stuff like that. But one thing I've noticed with how people talk about and how the media displays abusive relationships is that we often look at it like, why doesn't this person just pack up and leave? And we have these very simple solutions to these very complicated situations. And so that film is hopefully going to showcase the complexities of manipulation that kind of go into those types of relationships, because nobody just starts hitting their partner. It's a long process before that of getting them to believe they deserve that hit, and that's why they stay. So that's the hopes for that project. In terms of like, what subjects do I want to talk about? I mean, every subject under the sun. That's one thing that I found with slam poetry is great, because I can sit down and I can have a 3-minute piece that I can write in a day, and I can just get out, what I want to say about, I just did a piece on trans women, or a piece on Japanese heritage, because my grandmother is Japanese. But with films, there's such a long process, and you have to get yourself to not only get through the writing process, but the filmmaking process and the post-production process, that I find that you need to have something that you really deeply care about. And so with my films talking about, mental health, adolescence, grief, sexual assault, I mean, those are like hallmarks of my human experience, as well as things that I've researched endlessly. And so that I usually do like the bigger subjects that kind of define me as an artist as films, and I do the smaller things as art pieces or poetry. And the other difficult thing about that is that with short films, you only have 10 to 20 minutes to talk about these subjects. And like mental health, I could talk about mental health for the rest of my life. I mean, it's such a complicated thing, and sexual assault as well. And so these are really just like snippets of, how I feel about these subjects, and are really important things I think we need to talk about these subjects. But I mean, I can make a million films for each of those categories.
Definitely. It could be an endless library of all of that,
exactly.
right?
Yeah.
Coming from your mind, obviously. So, what's the most fun you've ever had on a film with I would say your topic because I mean, these are pretty serious topics. So
yeah, absolutely. Oh,
I know I asked you about the quirkiness, but the most fun that you've had as far as the topic, it's a feel-good film, something that left you just like grinning ear to ear type thing.
I wouldn't say that Sunborough is a feel-good film, but it's definitely the happiest film, I think, start to finish, that I have. which is why I get bored with it. I love these like, you know, gripping, dark, intimidating subjects. But yeah, Sunborough is probably the happiest start to finish. And we had an amazing time on that as well. We drove to Dallas. It was just me, my cinematographer, Zach Taylor, and then my 2 stars, Kirsten Norsworthy and Chloe Esquivel. And we went and shot for 2 days, and we just ran around for the montages, and we had a little camcorder, and we just ran around and filmed them like home videos, and it was a blast.
I bet that was fun. That's now, I have seen your stuff and your photographs come up on Facebook. So I always admire your photographic eye. So I'm like, those are amazing photos. These look really cool. That's a cool shot. And I'm always looking at them. I'm like, she has so much fun doing what she does.
Yeah. I mean, oh my God, filmmaking, like you said, it's what I love to do, and as much of a headache as it can be. And, you know, you have those moments like we shot a film in February, and my actress dropped out 2 days before. And I called my mom, and I was like, the whole world's ending right now. Like, I don't know what to do, which is funny because the film is about the world ending.
Oh, wow.
So it's very ironic. But yeah, I was like, oh my God, what do you do? And you're freaking out, and you have deadlines, and, you know, all these people counting on you. But it's so rewarding, and it can be so much fun. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So where can people go to find all your information, all of your films, all of your events coming up, or whatever it is that you put out there for us to...
Okay, so I have a Facebook page that's called For You Films, and I have an Instagram page that is under the same handle. And we do like behind the scenes photos, stills from the actual films, and links to the films. And also on Facebook, I do write-ups similar to kind of how we're talking, like, you know, here's what I think about XYZ. And, you know, here's kind of what we were talking about in the writer's room before we made this film. Like, what do we want to tell people? And here's what we hope you get out of it. And so all of that is on Facebook.
Oh, very nice. Okay, so that's how you get a hold of her. If you guys want to work with her, if you have an idea that you want to collaborate with, if she has time, because she's a busy woman.
Right. We also have the University of North Texas. We have several different things there. There's NTTV, there's UNT Short Film Club, and then there's just the Media Arts program. And those are all amazing outlets for people who want to get a start in Denton.
Very much. That's a good venue to start with, I would imagine.
Absolutely.
So thank you for plugging them in, and maybe we'll have some future filmmakers.
Oh, I would love it.
Yes. Thank you so much.
I can give you a whole list of people.
So before we leave, we're going to watch 2 more of your trailers.
Great.
And then thank you so much for being here, Nicole. Thank you
for having
so
me.
much for sharing your passion. I cannot wait to see the full length of each one of them. And we're definitely going to have you back, obviously. And you're going to come back again as a lost poet.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for sharing your passion with us with your filmmaking. I appreciate it.
Thank
and we'll
you
be
for having
watching
me.
her last 2 trailers here on DentonRadio.com with the Denton Vibe with Diva Girl Ellie.
The second we get out of bed, our first day is over. And the messy part starts. Okay, we can stay. Are you sure? Yeah.
Well, thank you for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. Be sure to check out DentonRadio.com for new Denton artists and where they're playing next. While you're surfing the internet, make sure you check out our friends Classic of Denton at ClassicofDenton.com.